Okay, let's start today's call. So the first agenda item is to wrap up the current sprint. So just want to see, just go through quickly of the remaining tickets so that we know how to move forward. We have a bunch of tickets already closed, and I think those have been went through previously, so I'm not going to talk about those. So let's just look at 249 is CDM screening form. So Simon, you just add a comment after Manisha's questions. Do you want to just to give us an update on that one?
Yeah, I think Manish has a genuine concern about the way the form, um, the way the system provider ID has been coded. On this form, different from the others, where that field users cannot type in. So what happens is that there are two fields. There's on other forms there is the uh, field where you type in a provider name, and that's an autocomplete field. You begin typing the name, and then it will give you a list. So you need to choose the provider, and once you choose the provider, then the system ID field is set. So for the other forms, after choosing the provider, this system ID field will disappear. It will be hidden. So we went through with Lawrence, and we came up with this design where you choose the provider name, and then it will display the provider ID in the ID field, but it doesn't allow you to change or to type in. So I think Manisha saw this is different from the other forms. I discussed with Lawrence. He thinks it should remain the same way, even though I know allowing users to type in the system ID directly is meant to enable those users who don't have their names and IDs coded on the forms yet. So, so I don't know whether this is the better approach, or the better approach is the one of allowing users to type in the system ID.
Yeah, I think the reason Manisha was working on this one is to apply the standardization for all forms across with the provider, with the features of downloading the providers to the local repo, the same for the locations, so that user can search and add the providers or the location that which are not like hard coded to the form. Manisha, is that correct?
Yeah, I was working on these forms under mUzima 268, where I was providing means adding validations for moving the validation code to mUzima.js. So the thing is, the placeholder in that field tells that or enter some system provider ID. So like if you have disable that field, but the placeholder gives the hint that you can enter some data there. So it'll be confusing for the user whether the field is disabled or it is allowing him or her to enter the data. So my concern was that way, that if you are giving that placeholder to the user will be confused that on one hand we are asking them to enter some ID, and on the other hand we are not disabling the field. So I agree with Simon that we shouldn't allow it'll lead to accidental changes in the ID. So we shouldn't allow, it should be disabled. But in other forms it is enabled right now, and it'll be so if it has to be disabled, then we should remove that placeholder so that the user shouldn't be confused about that.
Yeah. I think Win have that both of them. I think for one reason I think he mentioned it before, but I cannot remember right now off my head. Win, do you remember that the provider system ID that like they have like two of them, and then one is it for the JavaScript purpose? I cannot remember now.
What are you guys talking about? Sorry, I joined late.
You know, the provider system ID is being disabled.
Provider system ID in the form.
You remember that there's like two provider ID fields in the form. One is for actually using it, and then the other one for is it for validation purpose? I cannot remember off my head. I remember you mentioned that before.
I think there's so the provide one is for searching by name, and then one if you know the ID directly. I think there's two fields. One is for the so if the user doesn't know the system ID of the provider, then you can search by the name on the autocomplete field, and then when you select a provider from the autocomplete, uh, the the internal ID will get assigned automatically. The other field is for if you just want to directly enter the provider ID without searching it. I
So
think it's fine if we want to remove the direct system ID and just use the provider name switch.
so this applies to the feature that we added about downloading the local downloading the provider information to the local report so that we can look them up through the autocomplete, but then make sure that is the validation for the bounded element. So that's apply across to all forms. That's what Manisha tried to do, and the CDM screening form is the new form, and Manisha tried to apply for the same for this one. I think that's when all these discussions started earlier today. So can we get a consensus on this one?
Well, I don't know whether Wayne got our explanation why we got to this point. Maybe if I can just explain and show my screen.
Okay, go ahead.
Cool.
Is it because they want to search by name but not by ID?
Yeah. Okay. This is the form. I don't know whether you can see it.
Yes, I can see.
So, so right now, as you can see, there are two fields: the screening provider name and the screening provider system ID. Unlike other forms here, this field, the system ID, is disabled, and it's one of the issues that Manisha is raising. Because for the other forms, for example, maybe if I can. Like the two form, you have the same two fields. So when you select a name, it will display the provider name but hide the system ID. So when I was working on this form, I discussed with Lawrence, and he came up with this opinion that let's have users search the name, then we let them see the system ID on another field. And then he went ahead to say that we disabled it so that our users don't directly input that ID. Somehow, to him, he thinks it causes errors. While on the other hand, he thinks the users never input or even never remember their system IDs so that they can input it directly. So he thinks that inputting directly is not applicable to the users. I think if he was here, he could have explained better. So what we are wondering now, should we maybe design all forms to have this as provider system ID disabled, or should we enable it? And if we enable, should we make it disappear or not? Her other concern is that if initially the field says enter provider system ID here where the field is disabled, that one is a mistake. If we agree, we shall leave this field disabled, and then therefore the placeholder shall be removed. So I don't know. So maybe Win could advise us, because I think he knows about this for longer. Do you think it's genuine that we disable this field, or should we just make it open for users to be able to type in their system ID?
Simon, I think I agree with I, I think I agree with Lawrence, probably disabling that field or remove it altogether from the view. Probably going to be better. I think when we initially designed the form, we were trying to accommodate. We get feedback from Lawrence to just disable or just display the system ID without allowing user to edit it. I think I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Maybe from a user's point of view, I would say suggesting that the users not getting access to that particular field, because it will so far like confuse them. Letting it be just like what the previous forms have been would work better from the experience out there in the field.
So Derek, what do you mean by previous form? You mean the behavior of we let the system ID field be editable and then we have it hidden, or what do you mean?
Maybe just letting it be editable, just like it has been. But what normally happens is when you select the provider ID, which is the provider name that you type in, automatically that field is always populated at system ID. So it will pick that particular individual's name, then at system ID it will populate and disappear, such that the user is not confused to go still scroll the form and try to enter the system ID. That's what I mean.
So in that case, Derek, you mean users do not type in the system IDs directly?
I think he got dropped off. So maybe we can continue these discussions, to come up with like whether we should have both fields open, or just keep one field to disable the other one, or just simply to keep one field on the list of in the list of discussions. Let's just do that, because I think it might apply like bigger audience, and then maybe also Lawrence can provide more information why he suggests that way. Would that be okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so the other one is 275, the change the location ID for oncology forms. Robert, do you want just to share the update on your testing? So Eric, in case you guys are talking, you're on mute. Is Robert with you?
Okay, sorry, come up with the question again.
No, I'm asking about Eric. Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
No. We're okay. We're okay.
Can I give the question?
What did you say, Eric?
I'm saying we're on mute, but we were not talking about anything. I'm sorry.
No, is Robai with you?
Yes, Roba is here.
Yeah. Hey, Robai, do you mind just to provide the updates on 275 testing on the location IDs applied for oncology forms? This is for the MDRH location ID 84.
Yeah, I have tested on pap smear, dysplasia, and pap smear, and I have confirmed on the test server the location for MTRH is 84. So
Okay.
that is working. But we have a problem with the histopathology form.
Mm-hmm.
Not able to save the form as complete or draft. So I talked to Savai and he's going to confirm if we have the latest form on the test server, then I'll test again and update the group.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay.
So let's look at 268 apply validation against banded to mUzima forms. Manisha, I think we tried to look for the pull request. So is it still the same one, like 22?
Yes, sir. The changes have been in the same pull request.
When is it this one to remove the extra space? Is it the one or?
Sorry?
I think Wayne was asking the actual changes. Is it this one that have like the extra line that you cannot tell the changes, Wayne? Hey Wayne, you're on mute in case you're talking. Wayne?
Yeah, looking at the pull request right
Okay.
now.
Right.
I can't hear you guys.
I think we are on hold. Wayne was just looking at 268. I think that was I think that if I remember correctly, this was the one that had a lot of extra spacing. It was difficult to see what the actual changes are, and then the extra spacing need to be removed so that it's just easier to review. Is it correct?
Okay.
Yeah. I think Wayne just looking up just to confirm if that's the one.
Yep, I think you can close this one too.
I can close this one? Okay. So for 280, I want to check if everyone got it, the implementers, especially MPAF side, you got a chance to test on it yet or provide feedback? So this apply to everyone from MPAF? If you guys did not get a chance to test on it, please spend a few minutes today to test on it so that Kieran can have the feedback whether it can meet it or not, or make changes further.
Maybe a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is the latest PK incorporated with
the font
the
size
UI?
changes?
Sorry?
The font size change, the different size of
Yeah.
the font size. If
We're
you
not
look
sure.
at if you look at the ticket, Kieran already applied the snapshot APK in the Dropbox here. Do you see here?
We're having problems with the latest APKs because they seem not to work very well. So maybe.
Yeah, you don't need to use the latest published APK, but this snapshot APK Kieran generated attached on this ticket, that's the one that you need to test on.
Which APK?
Okay.
Do you see the highlighted link? Right here. So just use that one.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
So for the app crashes in step 2 on the wizard, I'm not sure why it go back to in progress. Shrita, do you mind just to give an update on this one?
Okay, so
is it another co-review or go ahead?
So we had we found out the cause and we had temporarily fixed it, but the fix was to revert mUzima 56. So after that we had sent out a mail describing the other alternatives to fix it properly, and been responded. So we are using one of those approaches and we are working on the fix. So right now, if you see that the crash issue is resolved, but mUzima 56 has been reverted. So that's why we have moved it back to in progress. So once we fix mUzima 56 in the proper way, then we'll move this to code review. So we are actually working on it.
Okay.
I think just create a separate 56 for this one and then close this app crash because it's already basically fixed with the patch that we did by Suta.
Okay, we'll create a new ticket.
Yeah, I think that that would be better for us to keep track of what's going on at the time that 56 is already closed and the workload is already counted towards that sprint. So.
Okay.
So we can close this one?
Yeah, we can close this one and the other related ticket and then just create something similar like 56.
Okay, great. So the other things I think still ongoing. I just want to check on 271 and 272. What still need to be in order for us to move forward? For 271, Manisha?
Yeah. Hi, Ida. For 271 and 272, we were kind of waiting on 231, which has been merged. But now we also realize that there are some JavaScript changes which are being done as part of 268. And I think Manisha just issued a pull request for it. So we're waiting on the pull request to be merged. And then once that's done, we'll pick it up. So both 271 and 272 are dependent on 268.
Okay, let me just put it here so that. Okay. I think the rest pretty much like ongoing. So let's assign some points for some tickets that we did, we added at the end of the last week because we run out of tickets. Other reasons like things of depending on another issue, things like that. So let's look at this one. Revise mUzima form discriminator from HTML registration to JSON registration. The reason is that I noticed the registration like with different prefix. I just want to be like consistent. Later on, like we got question why some are called HTML, the others like called JSON dash whatever form. So I think we should start looking at it. So let's just assign points, story points for these tickets. So 1, 2, 3, go. So sounds like a 3. Wayne, do you agree to?
Yep, I'm fine with 3.
Thanks, guys.
Basically, for this one, we have to make a change in such a way that when we upload registration forms onto the server, in the discriminator, it should be able to, the user should be able to enter JSON registration, and so this is how we're thinking of doing it. We basically change all references to HTML registration to JSON registration, and then we upload a new registration form and use JSON registration as the discriminator for it. After we upload the form, we're going to download it onto the device and register a new client using this form, save it as complete after filling it out, and then submit it back to the server. And we should be able to see it on the queue data, and it should be the discriminator against it should again be JSON registration, and the processor should run and should be able to process the form and create a new client, and we should be able to see the new client's detail in the database. This is how we're going to be doing it from start to end. Is this the workflow that you expect?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you mind just to document on the tickets on the workflow?
I will do the data, yes.
Great.
But at a high level, this is what you expect, right, Win? It's just a string change, right? Like.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a string change in the handler, and then string changes when you upload the form to the OpenMRS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
First, does not at this sprint.
Go to backlog because I closed the sprint, and then we need to set up a new sprint for this one.
While we're just closing the sprint, I just had a quick question. So I know we have this rapid view equals 15. For some reason in my head, I thought 15 is the sprint number. Is that not what it is?
I think the 15 is just the ID for the sprint inside.
It's just like the rapid bot that, just like a dashboard.
Yeah.
But like if you want to look at the sprint, I think it will need to like search for the label equal to the sprint name.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, ideally, before we add anything into the sprint, we will point it first.
Okay,
Yeah,
great. Thanks.
just put story points on it and then pull it into the sprint if you want to do. If we're running out of ticket.
Okay, the next one is corresponding retire data from mUzima form underscore form, not the table not being captured correctly in the database. So when we retire the mUzima form, the column of retire is marked as one, but then it didn't capture the retire by the retire date information or the retire reason, but at least we need to capture the retire by and the retire date. So I attached like a screenshot how it appears on the database right now. And you can see those retire by retire, dates retire and the retire reasons are no. I think we need to capture at least like retire by and retire dates retired so that we know when it's being retired and who did it.
Okay. Ada, can you show me how you're actually retiring the form? Like, is it through the forms page or?
So right now, I think it's retired through the mUzima form. So when you, I think like when you remove it, it would just like retire.
Okay, from
the mUzima form. Yeah.
mUzima manage forms page.
Yeah.
If I just use the X button.
Yeah.
The one that you're talking about where we have the tags and the view and.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so basically for the retired date, yes, makes sense. Retired by, you want to use the system ID or something like that, right?
It would be like the person who logged into the system to retire on the server side. So let's say that I log in and I retire a mUzima form. It should show my the system ID as the retired by person.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So how many points on this one? So time to assign points. Okay, 3. Okay, cool, 3. '94 selection of a report discriminator. When do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, I think this one is going to add a combo box or autocomplete. I think it's better to use combo box to list out all available handlers. So you don't need to type the discriminator by hand. I already put the code where for you to be able to extract all available discriminator. It's in the description. So using that, you get the all available discriminator, and then we need to display this list into a combo box so the user doesn't need to freehand the discriminator anymore.
Okay, so time to assign the point for this one. Cool, 5. It's amazing, everyone assigned the same points. So mUzima X80, on the mUzima manage form page, it would be helpful to add like sharp description to each field what they mean. I think it might not need it if we already have the, maybe just like for, since right now we pull this definition. I think I created this ticket long time ago, before we pull the definition from the core form. So the form name and the form ID on the this screenshot is a little bit outdated. However, I still think it would be helpful to pick to have some description, what the form discriminator means for each type. The form definitions, maybe we can say that is pulled from the core form definitions, and then the name, like just like some brief description that is also come from the form definition, things like that. Do you guys think that it's still needed or helpful to include this definition or no? Before like we decide we keep this ticket.
My vote will be no because
it's already taken care of, right?
Yeah, Ada, I feel like there are a couple of tickets which are trying to do the same thing, and if the others being implemented, I don't see how useful this will be.
Yeah, because I think it's like outdated already. Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with Vin's comments about how some of the fields are already self-explanatory, and changing the discriminator to a select box. I think that would also fix the issue of the user not knowing what to put in there.
So let me just add here. I agree with you guys. We probably don't need this one because it seems like the same thing to me now. Okay. Now to 81. Update mUzima JS to be able to serialize and populate forms with ops data. Simon, do you want to go through it and then assign points since you already spent some effort on this one?
Yeah, this one follows the current forms under development and previous discussions we had. The reason why we need OBS datetime is that there are certain observations like lab results where the encounter date is not necessarily the same as the date when the observation was taken. So for example, when the lab tests were done, that should be filled in the form as the observation date. So there are certain fields that require that additional date we need to input. Currently, this is not factored in. So we should have a way of at least inputting a date, and when we save the form, it will be serialized, and when you reload the form, like maybe you saved that as a draft and you want to open it again, it will be possible for you to load the dates back in their correct fields. So that one we could generally use the form names and the IDs, but it becomes an issue when you submit this data to the server side. It is necessary for us to associate a particular observation and its corresponding ops data, and therefore that was the need for this. Maybe if I can again share my screen to show you an example of what I'm looking at. If you look at down here, I have a section that has captured data for ops daytime, and in this case, I just did an example where I'm using the concept ID for a particular field, and then assigning to it the date value for the ops daytime, so that when this is sent to the server side, then we shall be able to associate a particular observation concept ID and this ops daytime concept ID. I don't know whether this is the best approach. Maybe guys could give ideas, but basically this is what I'm looking at as a solution to this ticket.
So basically,
yeah.
for recording the lab test results that which were the lab sample was drawn previously, not on the current and candidate. So that's why we need a way to record the lab tests. You know, when the lab specimens was collected. That's pretty much for the ops daytime. That's why Simon tried to add this feature so that we can support it.
So, Ada, let's have a quick question here. So, the way I understood it is, let's take a very simple example of capturing the weight of a person or a patient. That's an observation too, right? So, until now, I think all observations were kind of tracked against the form submission date. But from with what Simon is working on, you have certain values like, let's say you were testing the blood sugar value in, or the protein level value in urine or something like that. So these are actually captured against a specific date and time. So are you saying that there are certain forms henceforth, or maybe even now, that we have questions where we have to also capture the value of that particular concept against a date and time, and it's no longer just a simplistic form submission date time?
So so it depends on the content of the questions. Let's say that the current way, if we don't specify it when we ask any questions for, let's say that we have an encounter with a client today, we ask a bunch of questions, and all those questions apply for today. So by default, the ops daytime would be the same as the encounter date. That's the default. So whatever we put on the encounter date time, that would be the value that it would be used as the ops daytime for any question that you address for today's encounter. However, let's say that during today's encounter, the client reports the chest X-ray results that it was done last month, and those chest X-ray results, we need to include the real daytime when those chest X-ray was done. We should not use today's date because it would not be correct. So that's why we need to have a way to support some of the test results or the lab results that which was conducted previously, rather than today's encounter. So that's why we need to have the correct ops data to correspond with the result.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Makes sense. So are you saying, like, for example, on the form, it will be something like, let's say that we have a question like, please enter your blood sugar value, and then we enter some value, and right next to it we have like a date picker or something like that, which allows that person to pick the date at which, and somehow these two fields should be related and they should be saved. When we are saving the form, they should somehow be linked to each other and should be sent as one unit. So when this observation is read, or when it reaches the server side and it's processed, we read read it, and then we also store the value and the date at which this value was, something like that.
Yeah. So look at Simon's screen. Probably it's easier to explain. Simon, go ahead.
Yeah. For example, these are lab results. So you need to take a result for a protein test, which could be nil or could be one of these other options. Then the user would need to specify the date when this lab was taken. So we would have dates for each specific lab results. So currently, we don't have a way of capturing this observation data, and that's why we need to introduce in our JavaScript where when you fill the form, when you save, it should be able to serialize and submit in a certain format that will be easier to process at the server side. And as well, if you reload the form, it should be able to populate the fields back.
Okay. So how many points you want to assign to this one, Simon, since you already did the work for this one?
I think this one can take 3 points.
3 points, and then you have another one, right? Another 2 points?
Yeah, so this one and this one could take 3 points, and also the server side takes 3 points.
Okay. Okay, this one also 3 points. And so I include 4 tickets for the device management and security, and since Sam Bugua has been the core developers on the applications, and I think it would be better for him to finish those 4 tickets up. So I will ask him to update the story points on those 4 tickets. We don't need to go through them today. And then
on the next sprint, because we cannot start the sprint until it's pointed.
It's pointed, okay. And then for the fingerprints ticket, I don't think Achana is on the call, is she? So there's 4 tickets on the fingerprint project that also need points. Do you guys want to assign points for her now before we start the sprint, or you want to wait?
I think we can put it on the next sprint first, and then let them point it, and then we can pull it into the sprint, because it messed up our burn down chart. Because I think we put a few tickets that not pointed in the previous sprint, and then we didn't get. If you go to report, you can see the. Go to the report tab. Go to sprint report. Yeah, if you scroll down, scroll up, there's a few tickets that see the error processing and counter ops is without points, so I think it was pulled into the sprint without the point assigned, and that makes our store. That makes it. We can only finish like 31 story points when we actually did probably more than that. And then if you look at the graph, the white one is the normal graph where you're supposed to burn down your points, and then our points is pretty much stable on one location.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should just make sure that we point it first and then pull it into the sprint.
Cool.
Yeah, that's why all our Chana's ticket and Sam ticket, I put it on the next sprint and then make sure they point it first before we can pull it in. And I think we already have 59 points for this.
Okay.
Right,
I
yeah.
think they can still work on those outside the spring since those are like more specific.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's okay for the current arrangement, if that's okay with everyone. Okay, I think we can. So before we start this new sprint, and I think we need to do like a retrospective review just to make sure that what we have done correctly and then what we could have improved and any other suggestions.
Yeah.
I think this is one suggestion, Win, that we should not include any tickets without points.
Yep. I think there's no problem if anyone wants to work on the backlog. I think before we pull it in, we just need to make sure that we point it so that way we know how much effort we put into the sprint.
So any others comments, what we have done right and what we need to improve?
I think we're kind of improving a lot of things overall on the way our processes and our workflow is. And I think we have, I generally feel like there's more structure to it, and people are thinking about why things are being done the way they're being done. And I like that everyone is giving suggestions to make um, the development cycle much faster and easier.
Great.
I have suggestion of using shared repository module. I sent email about this, I think.
Do you want just to briefly go through it? And I know that there's a few email you and Kieran back and forth.
Yeah, sure. So basically, we will have everyone work on the same repository now, and then my suggestion is, I think Kiran have another suggestion as well. I think my suggestion is, if we're working on a ticket, then branch out of the main development branch, and then once your ticket is done, we can merge with the main development branch using pull requests, so we can see, so everyone can see what's going on with the code. I think the benefit of this shared repository is so we can have a clear visibility of what everyone is working on to make sure that our work is not clashing with other people's work. I think it's much easier to work that way in a small group like us right now.
How about Kieran's suggestions?
Actually, I'm okay with the shared repository model. So I think that we should do for the reasons that Win pointed out. Only thing I had concern was the feature branch. So I guess we can take that up later. So whatever you described now, I think that we should do like starting soon.
Okay. So maybe we try this first and then we can revisit this just to make sure that it works right for them and whether we need to make changes again.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Simon, do you have any thoughts on this one?
No, I think I'll agree with what guys are saying.
Okay, cool. So I guess we can. So maybe we still have a couple minutes. For CDSS team, do you guys have anything to share with us, or you have any questions for us?
There's that issue with teleconsultation. I think I'm experiencing a problem with the mUzima test server. So I preferred, and I think I spoke to Savai about it. We wanted to try it out on the Ampath test server.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Eric. Is there any other things you guys need to discuss with us or ask us?
Yeah, I will assist Eric. Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, I will assist him. And I think they've been maybe the data report of the error resolution UI. I think they've been testing, and I saw an email earlier that says everything looks good now.
Ooh, we're almost there.
That is with the latest APK. It's not the latest, but the February APK. But the latest APK app is still have issues. So it's good you have a look into it.
Yeah, I think it's the app crash ticket. We just closed, and then I think Kieran earlier said that they need to make some changes to mUzima 56, and they will create new tickets for that.
Sure, thanks.
Thanks. Then I had a suggestion. Naming of APK. Is it possible to be naming it maybe year, date, and month? Because we are having a problem differentiating the APKs. So is there a way we can be renaming it for easier purpose of using?
So when this is a question like whether we can have like a naming convention to the APK so that it's easy to distinguish.
Yeah, I think I agree. I will update the build script to change the naming of the API. I think that's a better approach.
Okay.
Good suggestion.
Yep. Really good suggestion.
So Derek, do you have anything for us, or questions or comments?
Nothing other.
Maybe I would just ask you, Eda, that on the mUzima test server we have a CDM screening form tagged Eda. We have two of them. One is revised and another one is not revised. I don't know which is the best one for demo.
You can just remove mine. Every time I tap my own so that it's just easy for me to look for which one for me to test on. So just remove mine and then you can upload yours.
Okay, there is one that is already uploaded. Maybe I would ask whether that is the latest.
Feel free to remove mine so that just avoid confusion, because like I keep testing it constantly and I realize there's so many forms on there, so I just tap my own name there so that I know like which one I'm testing against. Feel free to remove any one that with my the tag with my name, and because those maybe I can just go ahead and remove all of them that with my name as a tag. Then you guys can just upload the latest one. Don't use those that I uploaded.
Sure. Thanks.
It is for my own sake, because I keep testing so many things and it creates confusion for myself as well, because sometimes people upload theirs after I upload mine and I don't know which one is which one, so I just want to make sure that I know which one is mine.
Okay, I get you. Maybe which one is perfect, okay?
Yeah, so feel free to upload yours and then use your own for testing, and I will remove mine.
Okay. Sure, thanks.
Good question. So if that's so Kieran, so maybe after you create the new tickets for the 56 changes, and then please assign story point, and then we can add it to current spring. I think that is the blocker tickets for the new APK. So that'll be really helpful if you can help us with that one.
Sure, we'll do that.
Thank you so much. I think that's it from me, and thank you everyone for your hard work, and we'll start our new spring.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.